we're not in Willy Wonka. You know, the world isn't like that. Life isn't always great. Life is always going to serve you something. It's about where your pressure cooker is and about making those decisions. Those people that are full are never going to make proper decisions. Those people that are half full can get clarity. That's my job, is to give people that window of opportunity for clarity.
Karl, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello, I'm really well, Chris. Thank you very much.
It's so strange seeing you here because I've been watching your YouTube videos
A lot of people do
for so long, and then now you're here sitting in the studio.
Yeah, YouTube does make you a little bit of a superstar in your own little right.
It's weird, right?
So yeah.
I had the same thing with LinkedIn. I'll go to like certain HR events and people were like, "Oh, hey, Chris," and I'm like, "Oh, I forget that my face is on video and audio all over the place." Yeah,
I do. I have the similar things happening to myself, but yes, all good.
So on that point then, tell everyone a little bit about your background, the work that you do, and how that's led you on this path to where we are now.
Yep. So I started many years ago, and I joined the military. I did 12 years in the army. I went to all the places that your holiday representative definitely won't send you to. I've done all the sandy beaches. I've done all the I've done Northern Ireland, I've done Iraqs, I've done the Bosnias, the Kosovos, and hit all of those. I did 12 years and thoroughly enjoyed myself, met some amazing people, some true friends in the military, and those listeners that have ever served in a uniform service know what I mean by that. I left the army on a Friday, and it was well planned, by the way. I left the army on a Friday and joined the police on a Sunday. Wow. So I went straight in, so there was no decompression. Great. No, in fact, the following week, actually, on the Monday, I'd actually been in Iraq until the Monday. So I got back from Iraq on the Monday, left the army on a Friday, and then joined the police on the Sunday. So I hadn't even decompressed from what I'd been doing and where I'd been. And I went into policing. I had a natural thing for firearms, and so I went into firearms. I went into like firearms teams working on like critical national infrastructure type material and protection and things like that, and worked around that, and thoroughly enjoyed myself. Went up to firearms instructor level, so I went up to teach people how to use firearms, getting trained by some of the teams here in London, and special forces teams over in Hereford and stuff like that. I've had them teach me, and that was really good fun. But what happened was about 2006, August the 4th, 2006, I'd just finished duty and I was on my way back home. I'd been on the ranges all day. I'd been teaching firearms all day, and I went home, and I got indoors, and then the next minute the front door came through, and it was a drink driver, or if this is going out to the States, a DUI. And
wait, so they drove through
my next door neighbour's front wall, our front room and kitchen, and then the next doors as well, put the whole lot through.
And wow.
Yeah, and what happened was that I was still in police mode. I was actually still in my Nomax, my coveralls, my firearms stuff, and I went out and I thought I was assisting. Where I live in Suffolk, near a place called Southwold, I thought it's quintessential England. I thought an old person had lost control of their car. First instinct was that's what's happened, because the engine was so high, it was revving so high. I ran over to the car and it was a young pup, and he was only 17 years old. And later on we then found out that he'd been doing drinking, drugs, and he'd been at a funeral all day, funny enough, and he was sent out by his older family members to go get some more stuff, and he'd lost control of the car and planted it into ours. I went into police mode, and actually I thought he was injured. I thought, initially I didn't realise what was going on, so I went over to the driver's side and tried to get him out, and then I soon realised then what I had on my hands, and then I tried to extract him from the vehicle as best I could, and me rattling it around and using as much force as I could to get him out of the car. I actually rattled the brick wall that was holding the car up in the air, and that came down. And when that came down, for some strange reason, and still to this day I do not know why, but I had my hand wrapped around the seatbelt. As for leverage to try and get him out. And without going too graphic, I was desperately trying to get this young man out of the car as best I could. But I'd wrapped my hand around the seatbelt, and what happened next was the car bounced backwards, and I got dragged. They reckon between 80 and 90 yards backwards, and the reason is because my clothes were scattered all the way up, and I was dragged under.
In one spell swoop, or slowly dragged? Like
No, he was at full pelt. He was going for it, and I was being dragged back to the driver's side. I was being dragged down a country road and almost
he was still accelerating?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we haven't even got to the best bit yet.
Oh wait, so he wasn't passed out, like he was still...
Yeah, he was still compos mentis. Yeah, he was still there, and he just literally just floored it. He went into flight mode. He went into, I'm now going to get out of it. So I
was trying to get him out the entire time.
Yeah, and then I popped out, and on my front, I got caught by the front wheel, and that went over my legs first, and that's when I knew I was really in trouble. I mean, I knew I was in trouble, but I didn't realise how much trouble I was going to be in until the next bit happened when he hit me the second time. So he broke my leg on the first one, and then he hits me again on the second one, trying to get himself away because he realised he was in a cul-de-sac. So what he did is he hit me again, and then the only thing that he did nice for me that day was drop me back home. And he did. He literally just I tumbled underneath the car several times, got caught, my jacket got ripped off, the protective kit that I was wearing, because I'd only just walked in the door, the protective kit that you wear as a firearms officer, police officer, and I mentioned that the coveralls, because they're fire retardant, actually made it worse that night, because obviously
it's so strong.
Yeah, it just kept hold of me. And the only other good thing that came out of it as well is that apparently my arm or my head took the number plate off, and they knew who exactly it was, so they went round and raided it that night. But I came out of it with broken forearms, broken lower legs, dislocated knees. My heel bone was snapped off. Sorry if this is a bit graphic for some people, but it gives people an idea roughly where I was. My arms were done, fractured skull, fractured jawbone, all that lot. So yeah, I came out of it that way. So the police at the time said to me, right, the police force I was in, they said, right, we're going to send you to counselling. And I don't want to sound, I'm not going to be derogatory to counselling or CBT, because they have a place, they just weren't a place for me. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people listening to this as well, they may have been to CBT and counselling and they've worked, that's brilliant. But for some people, they may have been to counselling and CBT, and the problem is that they haven't worked. And my job is to make sure that those people understand that there are other options. And so I went to CBT and counselling. Counselling made me worse, and CBT sent me suicidal. So one night, whilst dosed up on a drug called tramadol, pregabalin, and some other stuff that I'd been given, and a bottle of Jack Daniels, I attempted to take my own life at in a place called Suffolk, called the Orwell Bridge, which has got like a 400-foot drop. But I was that incapacitated on my own stuff that I couldn't even manage that properly. And I was found by 2 police officers, and then they introduced me to a police officer that dealt with coaching techniques and hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and stuff like that. And what happened was in that first session with the hypnosis, the hypnotherapy side of things.
What was your thoughts going in, by the way?
In going in?
What were your thoughts going in?
Well, if any of your listeners are from the UK or listen to this, I'm from a place called Great Yarmouth, which is a seaside holiday resort. So my only perspective on hypnosis was watching stage hypnosis. So I was, I'm not doing this. I am not going near any of this. I mean, it really was hard for me to go to counselling. It was hard for me to go to CBT because
you failed twice, right? So you're probably thinking,
and actually, you know, I was brought up in a British military that was given, you know, you're given a crate of lager and told to get on with it, you know, and I've seen some atrocious stuff, you know, in my military career. And you just got that. So for me to go to counselling was a really hard thing, because it was, I'm busted, I'm broke, you know, and all these derogatory things went through my head that we used to say to, you know, and I was one of those that used to be, you know.
What was the main struggles that you kind of, it taking away your identity? What was
that strength, actually. Yeah, I actually think that being a man, I had to be something else. I had to be this persona.
You went from the military to the police, you know.
Yeah, proper alpha environments.
Yeah,
very alpha environments. And the interesting thing about that is that I thought it was stiff upper lip old boy, you know, stiff upper lip. Just get on with it.
I was told by my mum when I first told her about my anxiety attacks that we don't talk about that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things.
Get on with it. And I was like, all right, mum. Well, my mum suffered from panic attacks and stuff like that, and she never told anyone. And then when I had one, she was like, no, we don't tell no one. And that's for like 20 years I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah,
because I was told that you don't do that.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think that I'd lost my inner strength, and why I speak about and I get to travel the world doing this now is because of my background, I'm able to really connect with people that are in high end, as in, those, I've done the military bit, I've done that bit, I've done the driving around in fast cars and all of those type of things and using firearms. Thankfully, I've not in the UK, but I'm, still been involved in that. And it's still quite apparent that, especially for men, it's a sign of weakness. And I know that we hear that, and there's lots of people getting on the mental health bandwagon at the moment. But I mean, I've been doing this for 16, 17 years now. And I find it really important that if I can reach out and speak to those people that think that what we do or being a therapist is actually namby-pamby or something, or we don't do that, or it's, then my job is to really educate people on that you can be this roughy-tufty soldier. You can be this counter-terrorism firearms officer in body armour and, working with...
The pinnacle of masculine, almost.
Yeah.
But still be vulnerable.
Yeah, and being vulnerable. And that was the hardest point
Let's go back to the hypnotherapy thing, because obviously I detoured you there. So you go to hypnotherapy.
Yep.
What happens? Talk us through it.
If I use the analogy, it was like somebody... I was a pressure cooker. We discussed this the other day. It's like a big pressure cooker. I see the body as a big pressure cooker of accumulated stress factors, lots and lots of different things that go on. And my body was a pressure cooker ready to pop. What hypnosis and hypnotherapy did was allowed somebody with a skill set to grab the valve and let it go. And that's technically where we are with that, is that valve was able to open up, and all of the pressure that had built up from seeing things that had happened. I mean, things that had happened all the way through my military career, all the things that I'd seen happen during my short policing career at that time. You'd go to incidents that weren't pleasant and stuff like that. All of those things there that had built up until eventually the car accident was actually the end part, as in that was the bit where my body went, right, enough is enough, Tom. Enough's enough. You can't do this anymore. And that's when I went into like this shock, this post-trauma, this post-traumatic stress, for want of a better way, of looking at it. And my body's pressure cooker had just literally gone through the roof. And I'll do it with the mic here, is that if you imagine that we've got a left and a right hemisphere in our brains. We've got a left hemisphere, right hemisphere. Your left hemisphere deals with your logic, and your right hemisphere deals with your emotions. If there is conflict between your left brain and your right brain, as in your logic and emotion, your emotion will always override. The people that are listening to us now will know that they've probably had an argument with a partner, a friend, a business partner, whoever, a colleague at work, and then 10 minutes later gone, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Everybody that's watching this now knows, because what happens is our brain goes from logical with a little bit of emotion, and then all of a sudden fires over all of this emotion over there, and it fires it all over the top. So it goes right overrides logic. So what happens is that if you imagine with this simple kiddies toy, we've got a left and right hemisphere. If there's conflict between the logic and the emotion will always win. Sat in your brain, sat in the middle, is component parts just behind your nose. I don't need to go into the technical elements of it, but it sits there doing this: fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. And it goes on in all of us. Fight, we verbally fight things. Flight, we run away from things. And then we curl up as well, so we freeze. So we've got those three elements there, and some people would argue that there's probably four in this. I keep it very simple: fight, flight, freeze. Fight, we verbally fight or physically fight. Flight, we run away. Freeze, we curl into a ball. And we see that when we're going through mental health issues, business decisions and stuff like that, when we've got that going on. But the long story short is if our brain's doing this fight, flight, freeze, from the moment that we're born into the moment to you pass over to whatever you think happens next, this thing's doing this. But the thing is that when we have something that shocks us and goes bang, our component parts, the amygdala and all the other component parts that fire off, they do this. Now, the interesting thing is that this should collapse. And as it collapses down, that's all well and good. It goes fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. But life's not like Willy Wonka. So what happens is life isn't as great as Willy Wonka, is it? Life just gives us things after things after things, and it just keeps going. And if we don't let go. So what happens is that, let's say, problems at home, parents arguing, divorces, car accident, all these things. If these things all get put in there and we can't shut down, we can't shut our amygdala down and those parts of the component parts of the brain, and we can't shut it down because it keeps getting overloaded. What happens is this gets like this, and if you notice it like that, It's expanded out. So what it means is that all of the very simply steroidal things, the cortisones, the stress indicators and things and proteins that get fired out when we're stressed, they're always out. They're always out. So what happens is that my job in what I do with the coaching, the hypnosis and all of that is very direct, content free. It's to go in and go, we don't need that, don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that, and bringing it back down again. And that's exactly what I'm doing all day long. It's literally just taking away those component parts where our brain sits there and thinks, I need that to protect me. I need that to preserve me. And you sometimes work with people saying, I need to keep that bit in there because it'll keep me safe. But it's not. It's actually acting against you, because what it's doing is firing off chemicals that don't need to be there. And that's one of the key things there. So when I had my accident, if you imagine, I'd been through wars, I'd been through, seen things that had happened in the police. Mine was like this. When I had when I had the accident, it just took it one step further, which then blew it right out, which was, where we are there. And the key thing is that when I had that hypnosis and that coaching, which is completely different to CBT and counselling, it went, don't need that, don't need that, don't need that, fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. Instead of being in that fight mode, that flight mode, that freeze mode. And people that are listening to us now, if you could they can probably identify where they are on that cycle. Are you fighting things continuously? Are you running away from things? Or are you curling up in a ball and just hoping it all just... ignoring it.
Go away.
We've all been there. We've all had a letter where we've gone, oh, we'll put that underneath that part.
It don't happen.
Yeah, that's a freeze, in a runaway. When we look at running away in domestic scenarios or in business scenarios, people don't want to make decisions because they don't know where they're going. Or in a domestic scenario, being a police officer, I've been many a time, I've been involved, and I can see the side of it now where people inadvertently are having domestic arguments. They jump in their car and have had a couple of beers and they're over the drink drive limit, which then, then exacerbates the scenario. But because they wanted to get away from a certain scenario and haven't thought quite clearly, jumped into a car, drove off. And that's some of the things there, and those things just exacerbate things. They just
Why is it that emotion is the dominant?
It's the preserve, protect. Preserve, protect.
It's there to protect us.
Yeah. Our emotion will run. And it came from a doctor from the 18th century called Emile Coué, and some of your viewers may have heard every day in every way I'm getting better and better, and that was him, and that's where he got it from. And
the affirmation.
The affirmation. When people talk about self-hypnosis, if you really want a cheap way of understanding what self-hypnosis is, if you tell yourself something
over and over and over again,
you'll become it.
I didn't tell you this last time we spoke. So I have a playlist on my phone of affirmations, and I sleep with it.
Right.
It's an 8-hour playlist.
Yeah, gotcha.
Of just telling me stuff.
Yeah.
And it's whatever I want to achieve or become. And it's always it's always in the in the context of already having achieved it.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it in a while, but there was a good 4 or 5 year when we were first building HR Leaders where I played it and fell asleep. So my subconscious mind is just getting absolutely bombarded with.
And you can be overwhelmed by that.
And I would wake up in the morning though and feel unbelievable.
Yeah.
Ready to go, because one of my challenges with my anxiety was that negative self-talk of saying I am afraid of being stuck on the underground and feeling claustrophobic, or I am afraid of my wife going out and it's just me and the baby, and what if I have a panic attack?
Yeah.
And I kind of build it up in my head.
Yeah, but now look at that. You've built it up in your head. What was doing that? Logically, you're sitting there going, and if the partner was there, you're sitting there going, oh, everything's fine. As soon as that kicked in, your emotion overrides the logic.
Even though I know it's fine.
Even though there was nothing different, all she's probably done is nipped out to the shop for 5 minutes.
Yeah, literally.
But all of a sudden, what happens if the little one puts their finger in the electric socket? What happens if they go get a chainsaw out of the shed? Because that's how we work. We overcomplicate it, and then all of a sudden it then gets bigger and bigger in our own heads, and that's one of the key things. I mean, some people might be on here that are thinking, you're simplifying it, but actually I am simplifying it, because that simplification is what, me as a therapist and me who sits there dealing with people, they need to understand that they can be fixed. Some people think that when they go to a therapist and they go, let's say 20, 30 times. Now, I've had that this week where people go say, I've been there 20, 30 times. And they go, I'm still not right. I can't be fixed. I'm broken.
That's an affirmation. That's a negative affirmation.
But look at that. Bang, straight away. If there's conflict between emotion and the intellect, the emotion will always win. That's what happens.
I've been really, really conscious over the last couple of years is my self-talk. It's been one of the biggest factors in me controlling it, getting better. just like I catch myself in it now.
Yeah.
I say it and I'll stop halfway and go, nope.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I spend all my day doing. And people say to me, Karl, I'd like to learn self-hypnosis. And genuinely, that's technically what it is. What you're doing is you're giving yourself powerful affirmations of great things and negative things. And my job is to take people that have taught themselves really bad things. That's what people do. They teach themselves really bad.
One of the groundbreaking moments for me is when I realized that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality. Like it doesn't know the difference between whether it's real or you just thinking it. If that makes sense. And it perceives it the same way. And I was like, wait a minute. So I can, for example, one of my things I did as a kid is I always say I'm great at everything.
Yeah.
And my friends are like, oh, you're really good at all the sports, Chris. And they're like, and I convinced myself that I was really good at every single sport. And guess what? I picked up the sports really, really fast. But on the flip side, my teacher and my mum told me when I was a kid that I had learning difficulties and I had trouble reading.
Yep.
It took me a very long time to learn how to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Because anytime someone would say it, I'd say, yeah, I have reading difficulties.
And I got that as well. And I got, when I'm 49 now. And
dyslexic.
Oh, dyslexic. Sorry, dyslexia. Sorry.
I heard them say that.
Yeah. And that's a reinforcement.
I'm dyslexic. And so every time, that was my excuse.
Yeah, you just reinforce it.
Yeah,
all you do then is reinforce it. And that's half the problem today with labels. What happens is that doctors, and no disrespect to doctors, they will give a label because they need to do something to see if they can give something to see if that helps, which I understand that. But on the same token, the label reinforces sometimes the behavior.
Yeah.
So here's one for you. And we talk about reality. Close your eyes for a moment. Just put your hand out in front of you. Okay, tip it up so it's up, facing palm up to the sky. And anyone who's listening can do this as well. I want you to imagine now, just imagine now that I've just put a huge, huge spider in the middle of your hand. Just imagine a massive spider. Close your hand and just imagine that spider now being in your hand. I want you to bring that big spider, that huge spider up to your face now. And just imagine now letting that spider go near your face. 3, 2, 1, just open your eyes. How did you feel about that? Because your body was telling me something, your foot was twitching, your face was going, I don't want this here.
My leg was going like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anyone's doing that, that's where we're talking about the reality, where where your subconscious can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. Because what happened just then is that your fight, flight, freeze mechanism kicked in. Because I said, put your hand like that, close your eyes, imagine something. Bump, we're already doing it now. There's a spider in your hand, bring it up to your face and let the spider go near your face. And you watch what happens. And I'm sure if those people, if people are listening to this and let us know, but I bet now there's some people cringing behind this, watching this now going, he's talking about a spider. There's no spider. There was never a spider. There is no spider here.
The thing I get with like the anxiety, right? Like, because I kind of have anxiety about anxiety, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're compounding it.
Yeah, exactly. So when I think of the fact that, one of the examples when I was stuck on the underground, got stuck in the tunnel for an hour, had a full-blown panic attack, stuck on the packed out train.
Yeah.
Every time I step onto a train now, my heart's like...
Well, you shouldn't do, not now.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't do now. And it definitely, I actually did get on the train after you did that. We did, I don't know what you described what you did to me. You did hypnosis, but I mean, it wasn't planned.
It was more, it was more conversational type stuff. But
I felt I was fine. But it's interesting that even though I know I'm fine, like other times I felt like it was happening.
You're having to teach yourself, like riding a bike again, that it's no longer there. Funny enough, I just had somebody, I was working with somebody who was scared of heights, and they went up on this ladder on a big oil tanker, I think it was, or something like that. And they said I could only get halfway up. And I had to point out to them, but you still got halfway up. It was halfway more than what you've ever done before. So why didn't you just do the other half? So they phoned me up.
They probably laughed about it. Yeah, like, I did the rest.
So they phoned me up. They phoned me up just before they texted me just before we came on air, and they were like, "I've done the other half." It's about learning. It's about your brain going.
Well, good after as well. Like it's like the more I realized, the more I was avoiding it, the bigger it becomes an issue. You get pounds. Whereas if I was like, wait a minute, for 10 years I went on the train every single day.
Yeah.
And now that one moment is now being the one that defines.
If there's conflict between the emotion and the intellect, the emotion will always win.
Yeah.
It'll always push it.
I came across you through some of the. I remember like YouTube, looking for some techniques.
Yeah.
To help with my anxiety, and so many videos that you post of really practical stuff. Could you share some of the techniques? I think I remember the one I was doing last was the Just, the one like where you got to keep.
Oh, the bilateral stimulation.
Yeah.
So the thing is, a lot
or
of
just any of them that you think, this can help. It can help them.
I think the one with the bilateral stimulation is very easy. I didn't think about this one before we came on, did we? Let's use my wallet.
Sorry,
it's all right. No, it's fine. So the key thing is that a lot of your viewers may have heard of a thing called EMDR, eye movement desensitization resolution, and it's built on the fact that your left and right hemispheres. Your left and right hemisphere, logic, emotion, what it does do is it draws a line between. The easiest way to stop a panic attack is don't use your mobile, because somebody dropped their mobile last week. Use something like this, put it out like this. And what you want to be doing is bringing your arms out to your peripheral vision. Mm-hmm. So I can for those people that can see me, I can just see my wallet just here. And that's my peripheral vision, okay? So my vision's just there. What you can do is just don't move your head and move your eyes. And then repeat auto-suggestion again. And all you're going to do is just do this. And this is a very simple technique. Hold something like that and just go like this and go, the anxiety's gone, the anxiety's gone, the anxiety's gone, the anxiety's gone, the anxiety's gone. And what you do is you just keep doing this. Keep your head still, just move your eyes. What your eyes are doing are going across. Now, there's two things that you'll notice. Either you're going to get bored of listening to your own voice, or you change the tonality. That's what you're looking for, is that tonality change. That's what I like looking for in my...
But what's happening in our head? What's happening?
The emotion's overridden it. So what's happened is the emotion's overridden. Mm-hmm. All we're doing is bringing the logic back online. That's all I'm doing. By bringing the eyes left and right like
distracting
that. Almost. Yeah. And then the auto-suggestion or the self-hypnosis is the anxiety's gone. The anxiety's gone. The other one as well is that you might be interested in doing this one. I don't know if I did this one.
And I did that, by the way, for everyone listening. Like I was feeling anxious. Like literally did it, and I did that, and it did help.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me, because one of my techniques is when I feel anxious is I just do anything to distract me from it.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm feeling like I'm having a panic attack, I'll play a little game on my phone.
Yeah.
I play Tetris.
Oh, right.
So my wife, if Dasha sees me playing Tetris, she's probably like, you're feeling a little bit anxious.
Yeah.
And just by playing Tetris, it sounds so silly, but it works for me.
It's a coping mechanism.
It's a coping mechanism. I'll play Tetris, and then by the end of the Tetris game, I'm fine. It's such a silly thing, but it's something like, again, I'm distracting.
Yeah, exactly. But you're not actually clearing the problem up. You're just distracted from that moment. There you go. So, and the other one that I'd like, that's very easy to do is that whether you believe in, this is going to be contentious and going to be interesting how this one comes out, whether you believe in meridians or not. Nobody's ever found a meridian, but on the same token, energy lines within the body.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
So in the body, the Chinese, acupuncture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you've got acupuncture, and in there you've got meridians that go through your body, energy lines, for want of a better word. And the Chinese came up with that tens of thousands of years ago. The idea is that in your body there are super highways of energy that get around, and your chi or whatever can get blocked. Mm-hmm. Now, acupuncture is a way of doing that. Is needling and getting that energy to move back on. Again, there's more expert qualified people that can talk about that, but the one that I use is an acupressure technique, which means that you're just using pressure. And one of those pressure points for those people that are watching is just there. It's the karate chop one.
I remember this.
And this is a very simple one that you can do. But what you do is you get your hand, and all you're doing is just doing this. And what it does do as well is it brings the right side of the body and the left side of the body back online. So what it means is if I'm tapping away like this, and I hope I'm not affecting the microphone, but the long story short is I'm tapping away firm enough that I can feel it, but not firm enough to give myself a bruise. And the idea is that I'm sitting there just doing this. Now, the key thing about this is that for those viewers that are watching is do this, just tap away. And then what I want you to do is affirm something with it. I want you to affirm it like, I feel good, I feel great, I feel powerful, I feel good, I feel great, I feel powerful, I feel good, I feel great. Even if you don't, I want you to play the game. I want you to just do that for me. It's just do this. I feel good, I feel great, I feel powerful. Because if you can't do this, you're doing it the other way. You're going down the plug hole, if that makes sense. You're telling yourself you're telling yourself negative things. So let's start bringing that back up by going, I can do this, I will do this, I can do this, I will do this, I can do this, I will do this. At a speed that's good for you, I can do this, I will do this. Swap hands, I can do this, I will do this, I can do this. Now I want you to do it quickly because I just want to demonstrate to the people on what the experience.
I will do this.
Now tap a little bit harder.
I will do this. Can do this.
I will do this. I can do this. I will do this. Then swap hands. Okay, and a lot of people believe that there's energy in your hands, right? And there's a lot of energy in your body. Put your hands out in front of you. What do your fingertips feel like?
Warm.
They feel warm. Do they feel tingly?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Tingly, yeah. Yeah. They feel tingly.
Yeah, and it's not through the vibration that there are potentially these highways that go through there. Now, I work with people who go, there's no such thing as a meridian. And I work with people that are staunchly with that. So my job is not to sit here and argue whether it does or does not exist.
If you believe it, if you think it is, what's that? There's another quote there.
Belief and expectation is what we're looking at there. Do you believe it, and do you expect something to happen? And that's exactly what therapy is. If you go into a counselling or a CBT or a coaching or a hypnotherapy session, and you don't believe not just in the technique, but the person delivering it, then nothing's going to happen.
Of course.
And then once you've got the belief and expectation, your job thereafter is expect something to happen. And that's where I feel that some therapeutic interventions don't, because some people sit there going, yeah, no, yeah, no, no, yeah. And they walk out and nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Whereas when I do something, there's more theatre, and there's more, something's going to happen.
What are you actually doing though? Because I think there's a lot of skepticism around therapy. You see the TV shows, you see Darren Brown. That's probably what the average person's perception is. Right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's especially with the hypnotherapy, and especially with the way that I work, is about education. And this comes back to the Karl that was from Great Yarmouth. That's why I tell that story, because that was what my belief and expectation was. My belief is that you're going to make me act like an idiot, and my expectation is I'm going to come out of here being a fool. That was where I was. But my job, and I really do with when I'm teaching hypnosis and doing things, is to really get in and amongst it and educate people. Sometimes we have to change what we're calling it, because some organisations don't like calling it hypnosis. We call it meditation or mindfulness.
Going to companies is almost like a rebrand.
Yeah, you have to, because sometimes they get a little bit sketchy.
But still with mental health, right? That even companies struggle with just the word mental health.
Yeah,
the stigma attached there, right? So
they come
up with different ways of.
And another thing as well is, and it's not the company's fault and it's not industry's fault, but they just look at counselling and CBT. Not coaching, emotional coaching like what I do. They don't do the hypnosis and the hypnotherapy, which are really powerful impact on certain individuals, because like I said, CBT and counselling weren't for me. But because mainstream business go, well, that's what everyone else is doing, they stay on that format, which means that their employees are off work longer. It means they're out, they may even leave the job and stuff like that because of that. I mean, I work with lots of emergency services, more emergency service than I do military, and I have to say the police, AMBO and fire have systems in place, but those systems are the same systems, and the reason they're not working is because they're not compatible with the individual. People seem to think, oh, you've got a mental health issue, we'll get you counselling.
One size fits all doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that. So my job is to go around and educate people on a plethora of ideas. I go into places and I show them how there's this technique, that technique, and then the person takes it away, not just the organisation, but the person takes away the idea of we'll adopt that because that seems not too far down the rabbit hole type thing.
What are people seeing there when they see in the video where you people describe as putting someone under? Yeah. What's happening there? Like, because most people don't really. Most people are exposed to the theatrical side of it as opposed to the well-being. I think the key thing that people need to understand is that hypnosis goes on all day long. I would strongly argue that people are in a state of hypnosis. My job is to take them out of it, because suggestibility is one of the high things about hypnosis. Me giving a suggestion and then it works. Well, hypnosis is not a state of eyelids. So let's, for instance, I'll be working away with somebody. Somebody could see this as trance because I'm keeping somebody focused. I'm keeping somebody focused for that amount of time, and they're picking up suggestions and ideas and thought processes and using their imagination. This can be classed as hypnosis. It doesn't have to news and media does to us.
That's all it does.
Every single day, the fear mongering.
Yeah, and then
watch it.
And this is why if suggestive work didn't work, why do we have bright packaging? Why do they spend millions and millions of pounds on suggestive things like that? When if I firmly believe that we're always in hypnosis, my job is to stop the hypnosis and then make those tweaks. And it's not me making the tweaks, by the way. I'm very keen. I want to get this across. My job as a therapist is not to make the changes. The client, you, have the answers. My job is to get you to extract it the right way. You have all the answers. You talk about domestic. We were talking about private earlier on about a friend, about people or that may have things that are going on at home or at work or wherever it's going on. It's not necessarily, what they've got to do is make a formal decision on where they're going.
And believe it.
Do they need to stay in this relationship? And is this job bad? I never left the police because it was, I never left the police in some ways because I didn't like the job, being on firearms. I was never out on the street doing that. I was doing all the firearm stuff, all the protein bars and all that. I was, I was doing all the firearm stuff. It was brilliant. But I never left that because of the policing and the firearms, because I loved that bit. I left it because of an individual. When I look back now, I left it because of somebody was making my life miserable, and I didn't deal with it at the time. And my choice was, I'm going to get out of this. And my life developed. I remember that first day that I left the police, poor and penniless. Technically, I was literally like, I haven't thought this through. I thought I was going to walk through. I'm sure other people have done that before. Is that it's all right? I'll walk into work. I'll go do something. It didn't quite happen that way. So I had to fight my way through. But there's choices, and that's one of the key things that I like opening up to people when I'm teaching them as well. Is that if you are in a relationship that's stagnant or is detrimental to your health, you have to make a decision to do that yourself. I can't do that. I can just give you options and things like that. But when you're in those scenarios, you don't see it yourself. Those people that are business people here, sometimes they're so cocooned on their own little planet there that they don't see that they can, if they just stepped out for a moment.
That's why coaching helps. Like my coach Chester, he's helped me have those realizations. You just can't see it when you're in it.
No, you can't. And that's
if he's external, he can be like,
yeah.
And I'm like, what?
I spend my life doing that with people. That's all I do. I sit there, and sometimes just subtle one-liners. You see people's heads just go, you just see this little marble go ding, ding. And that's where it is.
So because I've had friends that, for example, have done hypnotherapy to give up smoking.
Yep.
Are you planting something in their heads to stop smoking, or are you helping them just convince themselves subconsciously that I am not a smoker, therefore they don't carry on smoking? Like, what happens?
So let's go back on that. I always have a thing about the issue's never the issue. Like somebody presented today, they've got insomnia. The insomnia is not the problem. It's what's causing the insomnia that's the problem. The insomnia, let's say, is the waiver. It's the bit that's sitting over here going, hello, there's something wrong. When actually there's something wrong in the background. And the key thing about that is that my job is to go in and then change that. So why do people start smoking? I would strongly suggest that the people that are watching this or ever smoked before, it's because you do it when you're younger. You never find anyone that's 50 years old start smoking. Well, you might have, but you never find anyone at 50 that goes, I'm going to start smoking. It's normally at a younger age. And what happens then is that people want to be part of a group, a clan.
The social side of it.
A social part. And you normally find it. And at work, and those bosses out there as well.
Going downstairs for the smoking break.
Yeah.
It's like it's the social smoking break.
Boss, you coming out for... come on in. Yeah. And then what happens is that they build this little community. You're coming downstairs, and then sometimes that causes problems because people are like, oh, you're hanging about with the boss again, are you? Like they're setting you up, and that causes animosity, things like that.
I used to have animosity that I never got that break.
There you go, yeah.
I remember saying to my boss, I was like, so my team members go for 4 15-minute smoking breaks a day. That's an hour they get.
Yeah.
Because they smoke. But yeah, but I don't get that, and I'm healthy, and I'm looking after myself.
Yeah,
I remember it didn't go well at me. It was like, go back to work. But I remember just being like, wait, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but let's go back to onto that smoking side of things. Is that what happens is at a young age they start smoking, and then they stay in that clan. Then the clan disperses, and then they join other little clans. Their little journey on the way through, and then it just becomes a repetitive thing. And stopping smoking is very easy to stop. To get somebody to stop smoking is very, very easy. And
even with the withdrawals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't take long. Doing it the right way doesn't take long.
Really?
Yeah. Fears and phobias, you're normally looking at around 15 to 20 minutes, but that's client dependent. Post-trauma, you're normally looking at probably maybe 1 to 2 hours of working with a client.
Really?
Yeah, because I look at it differently. Because I'm somebody who's been through it. I look at it as the pressure cooker. So let's go back to the pressure cooker analogy. The pressure cooker's like that and it's full. When it's full, you cannot make, when the emotion and the logic are in conflict, you cannot make informed decisions when your pressure cooker is filled. My job as a therapist is to make that pressure cooker go, drop some of the pressure and leave a vacuum. Then drop some more pressure And then if I can get that down to halfway, let's say, take away some of it. You're not going to get all of it rid of it in one session or 2 sessions, because they've got to coach themselves through their own life. But if I can drop that pressure cooker down by half, it gives them a better space to make more informed decisions, instead of, like I said a minute ago, those people that go out, they have an argument with their partner, they've had a skin full of booze, they've had some alcohol, they've probably taken some antidepressants or whatever it is that's not going to make them coherent while they're driving. They end up get caught drink or a DUI or drunk or on drugs in a motor vehicle, and then what happens then? It just makes the whole scenario even worse, and then the whole thing gets worse. So my job, the way that I look at therapy, and I've been doing this, the way that I do it is I look at it and I explain it that way, that my job is to drop that pressure cooker down enough so you can make better informed decisions. Because let's put it this way, and I said at the very beginning, we're not in Willy Wonka. The world isn't like that. Life isn't always great. Life is always going to serve you something. It's about where your pressure cooker is and about making those decisions. Those people that are full are never going to make proper decisions. Those people that are half full can get clarity. That's my job, is to give people that window of opportunity for clarity.
Karl, before I let you go, what's one thing I haven't asked you, which I should have?
Go on.
I'm asking you. What's one thing I didn't ask you that we should have spoke about that we didn't? I feel like we're missing something. Is there anything that you wanted to share that we haven't spoken about that you think is really important for our listeners?
Do I think there's anything?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Did we say?
No, I'm just saying in general, because I've watched so many videos of...
Oh, right. Just in general.
Yeah,
I thought I'd missed something. I thought I'd missed something.
No, you didn't miss anything. I'm just saying, like, you've said so many great things. I just want to say, is there anything that you wanted to share that we haven't spoken about that you think is really important?
Yeah. The reason that I'm on the path I'm at, and I'm not with the CBT and counselling on that, is because when I was in a dark place, when I was in that place of... I needed to end my life because I felt I was a burden to my family. I felt I was a burden to my children. I felt that life wasn't going to give me anything else. I'd done the CBT and I'd done the counselling. No disrespect to the CBT and the counsellors out there, but I'd done those. And I didn't know there was other options. There are options. And irrespective of what your people's trains of thought are here, there are other options. Hypnosis, spiritual, Reiki. Now, some people will be going like that, oh, go near Reiki. I don't personally go near Reiki, but that's not my bag. But it doesn't mean that it's not somebody else's, because if their belief and expectations there,
if they believe it, then
that's the thing. For them. That's the thing. We've got caught in this thing of CBT counselling, CBT and counselling, that's it. And many businesses do it. They send them off to CBT, and it's never going to work because it's not the modality.
You don't believe it.
Yeah. So my job is to go in and educate people of other things. Mm-hmm. Because when I was in a bad place and I was then going to take my life, I never thought once about hypnosis. I never thought once about Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I never thought once about energy work. I never thought once about tapping. And my job is to show those people that are at those depths, there is other things. And if you are out there at this present moment in time and there's something going on and you've been through the mainstream, don't be scared to look at other avenues. Even if you think they're really far out, even if you think they're really far out.
I never would have came across you if it sounds weird if YouTube never served that up.
Yeah.
I just said, what are some techniques to help me cope with my anxiety? And your video was, here are 3 techniques.
Yeah.
One was that, one was this, and there's one other third one, which I can't remember what it was now. There was another one. And
they're looking up?
Yes.
Physiologically, yes. Yeah, so physiologically. So let me just finish that and then I'll just finish it off with another
we'll
technique.
Wrap up. Go
is if you have been through a therapeutic rinser and you don't think that there's something else out there, there is. And if you're scared about it or you're worried about what your colleagues are saying about it, they're not friends, they're not proper colleagues, because when I started doing hypnosis, like, people are, are you doing hypnosis, this, that and the other? Yeah, I am, because it works. And my job is to capture those people that have been through the CBT and the counselling. No disrespect to those people, but it hasn't worked for them. My job is to then teach them of the other avenues they can go. So that's my final thought on that. The last technique that I just want to hand out to people as well is that physiologically, we're sitting down at the moment, you can't be depressed. Don't forget, anxiety is about the future, depression is about the past. So you can't be depressed if what's one of the first physiological things that we do when we get depressed about something? We bow our heads, we curl into a ball, yeah? So that's depression. If you look up and try to feel depressed, you can't do it. If you physiologically bend over, if you lean forward and do this, your body will curl up and start to go into that depressive state. There's a lot more behind this, but however, I'm just trying to squeeze it into this. If you find yourself feeling bad or feeling negative, go outside, do something and look up in the air for a moment. Just look up and then try to find that negativity. You won't be able to find it. Physiologically, your body won't let you do it.
Interesting. Yeah, that was the third one.
That was the third one, yeah.
And that video changed. That was such I did those 3 techniques in my office at home, and it worked. And again, also, it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money either. These are very simple, easy to do. It took me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I did all 3, and then I was like, I need to message this guy and get him on the show.
They're things as well.
I need to share this with our audience.
They're things as well that you can do in the office, and nobody needs to know.
No one needs to know. If you was looking up like that, no one was really... Yeah,
if you're tapping away, you don't have to do that. You could just rub your hand. You don't have to tap. You could just rub. So if you're stood at a bus shelter and something's going on, just rub your hand like that and just swap over.
And you can say the affirmation in your head.
Because it's all in your head anyway. It's all in your head.
I've done that. I've been in a bad place out in public, and I've just said them not out loud in my head, and this helped me.
Yeah.
Where can people check you out? And if they want to reach out, there's so many organizations. As you know, obviously it's called the HR Leaders Podcast.
Yeah.
Many of the leaders who work with, they're all looking after the well-being of their employees. If they want to reach out to you, where's the best place? So
mental welfare coach is the best place to get me, and I'm sure you put the details underneath here, but mental welfare coach is where I do predominant a lot of my work, and my hypnosis side, I have another world that's hypnosis, but on the same token, people punch my name and they're going to find a lot of hypnosis. But on the same token, the mental welfare coach is predominantly where I work with businesses and like the Foreign Commonwealth Office, all those type of things there. So yeah, mental welfare coaches is where I go in. But
the links will all be below, wherever you're listening or watching or whatever platform you're on. Also, I think you're on LinkedIn as well. So
LinkedIn,
follow you on LinkedIn.
I can give you the link for that if you want.
Karl, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Personally, even just for the few moments that I've absorbed your content, and I felt it was really important to have you in the studio and to introduce you to our audience, because they're looking after the well-being of millions of employees all over the world. And even if we can reach a couple of people today, it'd be worth of our time.
I would hazard a guess. This is going up predominantly on LinkedIn, isn't it?
Yeah, LinkedIn, YouTube, everywhere really.
I would hazard a guess, right, that somebody has just had a marble moment in their head while listening to this. They've gone, oh, just that I'm not the only one, or I can do something else, or just that there in the power of doing just this and telling my story and letting people know that it's all right. At the end of the day, go reach out and go do something. It's completely all right. And it doesn't matter what environment you are, be alpha state, whatever. But on the same token, somebody right now has just had a moment and gone, all right then, I'm going to do something about this.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much.